You just read that sentence. Now look away. Try to repeat it word for word. You can't, can you? Your eyes moved across every letter. Your brain processed every word. And yet somehow, the moment you looked away, it slipped through your fingers like sand. This happens to you constantly. You finish a page in a textbook and realize you have no idea what you just read. You watch a tutorial video and can't remember the steps 5 minutes later. You sit through a meeting, nodding along, and walk out unable to recall a single decision that was made. Most people assume this means they have a bad memory. They blame themselves. They think something is broken inside their head. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Your memory isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to work. And once you understand why, you'll never look at studying, reading, or learning the same way again. Let's start with what actually happens when you read. Your eyes don't move smoothly across a page like a scanner. They jump. Researchers call these jumps saccades. Between each jump, your eyes pause for a fraction of a second, and that's the only moment you're actually absorbing information. The rest of the time, your eyes are essentially blind, leaping to the next spot. Your brain stitches these fragments together so smoothly that you never notice the gaps. You feel like you're reading continuously. You're not. You're reading in flashes. Now here's the part that changes everything. Those flashes go into something called working memory. Think of working memory like a small whiteboard in your head. It can hold a handful of items at once, maybe 4, maybe 7, depending on who you ask. The psychologist George Miller famously proposed that the human mind could hold about 7 pieces of information at a time. Later research suggested that real number is closer to 4. Either way, the whiteboard is small, and it gets erased constantly. So when you read a paragraph, the words don't get stored permanently just because your eyes passed over them. They sit on that small whiteboard. If nothing happens to move them somewhere more permanent, they get wiped clean to make room for the next sentence. This is why you can read 10 pages and remember almost nothing. Each new sentence erased the one before it. But why would your brain be built this way? Wouldn't it be better if everything you saw just stuck? Actually, no. Imagine if your brain remembered every single word, every face, every background noise, every passing thought with equal weight. You'd be paralyzed. Your mind would be a warehouse with no shelves, no labels, no system. Forgetting isn't a flaw. It's a filter. Your brain is constantly asking one question about everything you experience. Does this matter enough to keep? And here's the part that should make you sit up. Your brain doesn't decide something matters based on how many times you saw it. It decides based on what you did with it. This is where a researcher named Henry Roediger comes in. Roediger spent years studying something called the testing effect. He found that students who read a passage once and then tried to recall it from memory, struggling, failing, guessing, remembered far more a week later than students who reread the passage 4 times in a row. Rereading feels productive. It feels like learning, but it's mostly an illusion. Your eyes glide over familiar words. Your brain nods along thinking, yes, I know this, and almost nothing new gets built. Struggling to retrieve something, even imperfectly, is what actually moves it off the whiteboard and into long-term storage. Think about that for a second. The feeling of understanding and the act of remembering are 2 completely different things. You can feel like you understand a chapter while reading it and still forget almost everything 5 minutes later. Familiarity tricks you into thinking you've learned. It hasn't. It's just made the words feel comfortable. So what's actually happening when something does stick? Your brain has to do something with the information beyond just receiving it. It has to connect it to something. This is sometimes called elaborative encoding. New information that links to something you already know gets a kind of handle attached to it, something your brain can grab onto later. Information that floats alone, disconnected from anything familiar, has nothing to hold on to. It vanishes. This explains something strange. You can forget what you read in a textbook 5 minutes ago, but you can remember in vivid detail an argument you had 3 years ago, or the lyrics to a song you haven't heard since high school. Why? Because those memories were attached to emotion, to context, to meaning. The neuroscientist James McGaugh has spent decades studying how emotional arousal strengthens memory consolidation. Your brain essentially tags emotionally charged moments as important, flooding them with stress hormones that help cement the memory in place. A textbook sentence about mitochondria doesn't get that treatment. It has no emotional hook, no story, no stakes, so it gets discarded like junk mail. Here's the counterintuitive insight buried in all of this. The problem was never your memory capacity. The problem is that you've been treating reading as the act of learning, when reading is actually just the act of exposure. Learning happens after you close the book. It happens when you try to explain the idea out loud without looking. It happens when you get something wrong and your brain has to scramble to correct itself. That moment of friction, of mild failure, is exactly what tells your brain this information deserves a permanent shelf. So what do you actually do with this? Next time you read something you want to remember, stop every few paragraphs. Don't reread. Close your eyes or look away and try to summarize what you just read in your own words, out loud if you can. You will feel resistance. It will feel harder than just continuing to read. That resistance is a signal that learning is actually occurring. If you can't summarize it, you've just discovered something valuable too. You found exactly which part didn't stick, and now you know exactly where to go back. You can also connect new information to something you already care about. If you're reading about how supply and demand works, think about the last time you wanted a concert ticket that sold out in minutes. Suddenly, the abstract economic concept has a handle. Your brain has somewhere to file it. And one more thing. Spacing matters more than people realize. Cramming 10 hours of reading into one sitting feels efficient, but your whiteboard can only hold so much before it starts erasing itself. Spreading the same material across several days, with gaps in between, forces your brain to retrieve the information repeatedly, which is exactly the friction that builds permanent memory. This is sometimes called the spacing effect, and it's one of the most well-documented findings in all of learning science. None of this means you have a bad memory. It means you've been using the wrong method and blaming the wrong cause. Your brain was never trying to betray you. It was trying to protect you from drowning in information that didn't matter, while quietly waiting for you to show it what does. So the next time you finish a page and realize you remember nothing, don't panic. And don't assume something is wrong with you. Just close the book, look away, and try to say out loud what you just read. That small, uncomfortable pause is the difference between information that passes through you and information that actually becomes a part of you.